Let's get into this further with former US Deputy Special Envoy Ellie Cohanim. Emmy, great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me. The US ambassador has actually talked up the success of the controversial GHF aid group after the visit today in Rafah. We've just heard from the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Palestine there. The purpose of this visit was to get to the truth of the aid situation inside of Gaza, which has caused absolute outrage, Ellie, across the world. Do you think this has been achieved? Do you think the truth will be revealed?
The footage I saw of Special Envoy Steve Witkoff in Gaza this morning, U.S. time, is Gaza civilians cheering him and so thrilled that that a U.S. representative is there on the ground to fact find and see the situation for himself. And Leigh-Ann, what I can share with you personally is just yesterday I was presenting at a conference here in Washington, D.C., where the keynote speaker was the Reverend Johnny Moore, who runs the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. And he shared with us that GHF is now delivering 1 million meals per day in Gaza, that they have been the only honest food distribution delivery mechanism in Gaza. He slammed the United Nations for what he considers a complete failure on the UN's part to really do their part. I've also seen so much video footage of trucks filled with food aid sitting at the borders of Gaza that the United Nations has refused to distribute to Gazans. And so, I don't think anyone would deny that there's hunger in Gaza, but the finger to blame very much seems at the United Nations. The UN has this pattern where everywhere they're sent to actually do a duty and carry out a responsibility, they seem to fail at it, and then they try to fool the international community about their own failures. So I would tell you that I think this GHF system is the best system that has been put in place, and anyone who wants to help should support its efforts like the United Arab Emirates is doing right now.
Ellie, what I find interesting is when Israel faces any criticism about the aid situation within Gaza, they seem to put a spin on it. And I'm hearing what you're saying, but if I actually bring you some figures from the UN, who you say is being criticized by certain people, they say more than 1,300 aid seekers killed in Gaza since May. We have had daily reports that people have been dying at the GHF sites. I've spoken to doctors with inside Gaza who say children are coming in with shots to the shoulders, shots to the head, and this is how they've been killed trying to get food. Is anyone taking responsibility for the situation there? Because I feel like Israel is somewhat deflecting the truth.
Well, the responsibility falls on Hamas. I mean, there's been footage revealed where Hamas sees Gazans trying to get at the aid, and then they start to shoot live at these civilians who are trying to get at the aid. We've seen footage of Gaza literally assaulting and leaving people bruised and blackened after assault because they tried to get at this food aid. Look, I think the reality that everyone needs to be very open-eyed and clear-eyed and aware is that Hamas is a terrorist organization. They are hanging on to power in Gaza. They will do anything they can to disrupt this food aid. They will do anything they can to try to hold on to power. And what we saw just this week was unprecedented. The Arab League made a united statement. They condemned the October 7th attack by Hamas, and they've called on Hamas to disarm and disband. And the reality is that is the only path forward. It's the only future for the people of Gaza, is for Hamas to leave, to take any exit that they're being offered by the Arab League, by the United States and Israel, and to allow the citizens of Gaza to move on with their lives, presumably under some sort sort of plan which would bring in the Arab neighbors of Gaza, states like the UAE, hopefully the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and others, to help rebuild Gaza and move on from this war. But this war will only end when Hamas disbands, hopefully releases the hostages, and exits the area.
There is a lot of international and domestic pressure on President Donald Trump right now to reach a ceasefire deal. But I was just listening to you there and many people I've had on the show. If we listen to both sides, Hamas and Israel, it seems a breakthrough is somewhat impossible because we're so far away when it comes to this. One side wants something completely different. You know, where does this end? And what kind of pressure can Donald Trump put on Israel and both sides to make sure something happens here, especially for all the civilians, Ellie, who are starving to death?
Right. Well, I think, again, that all interested parties, people who are concerned for the hunger in Gaza, should do their best to support the GHF effort to help distribute more food. But in terms of how do you bring this war to an end, what we've heard over and over again is that the Israeli side has accepted every U.S. proposal that has been put forward, and it is Hamas that rejects these proposals time and time again. So remember, Hamas is a foreign terrorist organization, and so they're not necessarily rational actors. And so the reality is that for this war to come to an end, the pressure on Hamas must be increased so much so that they understand there is no tomorrow for them, there's no future. If you think about the alternative and you ask, what is the pressure that could be put on the Israeli side? Well, what happens if Israel were to just, cease fire today? Well, what happens is that Hamas is given the opportunity to regroup, and then they will just go on massacring not only Israelis, but their own people as well. And so I think that there is one consensus, which is that there is no return to the pre-October 7th status quo. The Trump administration will never ask Israel to do that. The Israeli people will never accept that from their government, whatever government will be in power. And certainly I don't even think the people of Gaza want a pre-October 7th status quo. And so again, the only way to help Gaza move on to the next phase in their existence is for Hamas to disband, and the pressure has to be completely on Hamas. And whatever political leadership still exists in Doha, that political leadership needs to feel the pressure. I hope anyone who's continuing to funnel monies to Hamas will be pressured to stop doing that. And hopefully we will see them disarm and disband as the Arab League has demanded that they do.
Ellie Cohanim, former US Deputy Special Envoy, thank you for joining us.